Folks, Adam Wason, Public Works Director for the City of Bloomington. It is Tuesday, March 10th, 2026, and we are in the Bloomington City Hall Council Chambers, 401 North Morton Street. We also have a live Zoom link with a meeting ID and passcode on the agenda for tonight's meeting. And if you are on Zoom and need to offer any comment or answer any questions, we'll use the raise hand function, or for your agenda item, we'll just unmute you. And otherwise, I'll turn it over to Elizabeth Carone, President of the Board of Public Works.
Thank you, Adam. I will call to order tonight's meeting of March 10th, 2026. First, we have messages from the board members. Are there any messages from the board? Seeing none, we will move to petitions and remonstrances. This is the time for anyone who has questions about items that are not on the agenda. There's no one in council chambers other than staff. If there's anybody on Zoom with a question about something not on the agenda, please use the chat function or raise your hand.
Just so you're aware, I think the only people that are on the Zoom either have agenda items. I don't think we have any just general members of the public.
Okay. And we will move to the consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda includes minutes from December 16th, 2025, minutes from December 29th, 2025, Resolution 2026-012, ITS surplus to Binary Heart, Resolution 2026-013, pushcart license for Big Dog Cart LLC, change orders 48 and 49 for the Hopewell East construction contract with Milestone Contractors LLC, public improvement bond acceptance for Renwick Phase 3, addendum to the service agreement with Ivy Tech for a CDL program, and payroll. Are there any items that need to be removed from the consent agenda tonight? No. Any questions from the board on the consent agenda? No. Public comment on the consent agenda?
None on Zoom.
All right, seeing none, is there a motion?
I move we approve the consent agenda for March 10th, 2026.
Second.
With a motion and a second, I will call the roll. Cox-Deckard?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Carone, aye. Motion passes. Next, we will move on to new business. The first item is Amendment 3 to the on-call service agreement with REA for engineering services.
Good evening, Neil Copper with the Engineering Department. This is an existing contract with REA. It provides as-needed assistance with engineering services. This amendment increases the total contract amount to allow continued use, supporting various projects, particularly working on design for resurfacing contracts supporting the Public Works Department. The amendment increases the total amount by $100,000 for a new total not to exceed of $404,143.60. Staff has reviewed and supports this amendment, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions from the board on this item? Public comment on this item?
None on Zoom.
All right, seeing none, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the Amendment 3 to on-call service agreement with REA for engineering services.
Second.
I will call the roll. Cox-Deckard?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Carone, aye. Motion passes. Next item is the LPA consulting agreement with REA for engineering services for downtown curb ramps Phase 5.
Neil Copper again. This is a new contract for a project that is expected to include curb ramps and crosswalk improvements along both East 3rd Street and Atwater Avenue adjacent to IU campus. The project is programmed in the Metropolitan Planning Organization for federal funding support for both design and construction. REA was selected to perform the design services for the project based on their response to a request for proposals. The contract is set at a total not to exceed amount of $271,490. Construction is anticipated to occur in 2029. Staff has reviewed and supports this contract, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Questions from the board? I just want to confirm that Atwater and East 3rd between Indiana and High Street?
That's generally the area, correct?
Okay. Thank you. Public comment on this item.
Not on Zoom.
Nothing on Zoom. Okay. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the LPA consulting agreement with REA for engineering services for downtown curb ramps Phase 5.
Second.
I will call the roll. Cox Deckard,
Aye.
Roach,
Aye.
Carone, aye. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is the right-of-way closure request for CenterPoint Energy.
Good evening, Kyle Ball from Engineering. So Miller Pipeline, on behalf of CenterPoint Energy, is requesting sidewalk closures, lane closures, and alley closures associated with utility work along West 2nd Street from South Walker Street to South Maple Street. This work is required to relocate utilities in advance of the 2nd Street modernization project. These closures are requested to occur in the timeframe between March 16th and May 31st of this year. I have an on-site meeting planned with Miller Pipeline to go over expectations, how to execute the closures, ensuring that they're not closing any paired sidewalks, anything like that. And we'll continue to work with them to work with Bloomington Transit and MCCSC to make sure that those closures aren't prohibitive to them, rather. And happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
I think yesterday in the work session, we had just talked a little bit about that cooperation with MCCSC and Bloomington Transit. And given that the project is getting ready to start, I mean, fairly soon, have you received information that they have coordinated that, or is someone here on their behalf to?
I believe we have Robin Cooper from Miller on the call. Those coordinations I plan on having on our meeting this week. Shouldn't be closing off any access or anything, just a slight delay with the lane closure.
Okay.
Also, as we discussed yesterday, the lane closure will happen in phases
Correct.
as it goes through the project. Okay. Questions from the public on this item? I'm sorry, public comment on this item.
None on Zoom.
All right. Seeing none, I will call, actually, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the right-of-way closure request for CenterPoint Energy.
Second.
Now I will call the roll, and I promise I will get the hang of this at some point soon. Cox Deckard,
Aye.
Roach,
Aye.
Carone, aye. Motion passes. Next is the right-of-way closure request for F.A. Wilhelm at the Poplars development.
Kyle Ball, Engineering once again. F.A. Wilhelm is requesting sidewalk closure on North Grant Street as part of the Beverly project located at 400 East 7th Street. This request is for facade work as well as final landscaping work. This requested closure would take place March 18th through April 10th of this year.
Thank you. Questions from the board?
We just talked during the work session about the fact that this is likely the last item that we are going to receive as far as closures, right-of-way closures.
That was the last indication that we had from them. And I will say, I think we spelled out kind of the plan for execution here is to finalize this western side, and then the project completion would move from this sidewalk to the southern sidewalk on 7th, and then the western sidewalk on Dunn.
I just want to clarify, it's not, there won't be more permit applications, but they have right-of-way permit applications that are currently valid.
Correct, yeah.
Other-
The end of use, I believe, was end of July, if I'm not mistaken, for those other phases.
All right, other questions? Public comment on this item? Hi, could you please state your name for the record?
Hi, I'm Greg Alexander. I think we got to look at the history of this because this is, they're using the MOT that was used last June for a pair of sidewalk closures on Dunn and on Grant. And the logic behind that MOT was that there is no way to put a walk around on Dunn, and Dunn is a higher priority street because of the bus traffic there. But those things aren't true about Grant. We just decided to screw over Grant too because we screwed over Dunn. Another consideration was that last June's proposal was affecting the summer, which was people like me and my kids walking in the street rather than undergraduates walking in the street. But this is happening in the middle of the semester, a very busy travel time, very busy visit time, family weekends. I'm telling you, every single time I was there and the Grant Street sidewalk was closed, which I go through there almost every day, I saw pedestrians in the street. It is a very well used. There are going to be groups of drunk undergraduates. There are going to be groups of parents walking in the street on Grant if you approve this closure. That's antithetical to our stated goals and the law in this instance. You're not allowed to close a sidewalk unless they have a walk-around that fully reproduces the desirable characteristics of the original path. The 7th Street sidewalk has been closed for much more than a year now. That's insane to close a sidewalk. That's our priority transportation infrastructure, and it's just closed for more than a year as if it doesn't matter. So this is already a stressed environment for pedestrians. So this isn't summer, and this is a screw pedestrians detour, and I'm trying not to use bad words, but we have to be clear. It's very hard to do these things. Somebody's going to have to give, the contractor's going to have to give, the cars are going to have to give, somebody's going to have to give. Well, it's always easiest to pick the lowest priority person and make them give, so screw pedestrians. But you don't have the legal authority to screw pedestrians. Pedestrians are in law enshrined as the highest priority. And another piece of history you just need to be aware of is that the 7 line was closed. That was a poor decision. That was a mistake by the part of this board. But because it was closed for, about 8 months, you guys extended it for another 2 months. Once you establish this precedent, last summer you closed Grant, you shouldn't have, but you did. Because you established this precedent, it goes on and on. And so they say, well, it's not a big deal because it's a short closure, but short closures become long closures, bad closures become repeated closures. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comment on this item?
None on Zoom.
All right, is there a motion?
I move we approve the right-of-way closure request for F.A. Wilhelm at Poplar's Development.
Second.
With a motion and a second, I will call the roll. Cox Deckard?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Carone? Aye. Motion passes.
I hope your kids walk in the street there too. Thanks, Greg. Have a great night. Fuck you.
Next item is the right-of-way closure request from Heidecker Wheat Lake Company for Fritz Terrace gas line modernization.
Hello, Zach Bell, engineering. Heidecker Wheat Lake Company is requesting an extension of an approved right-of-way permit from 14 days to 8 months. The closures for this work will consist of single-lane closures within the southwest portion of Fritz Terrace as part of the gas main modernization project. This request is to accommodate 15,035 linear feet of boring. The traffic control would be in place from March 9th through October 8th, 2026. The Heidecker Wheat Lake Company has supplied maintenance of traffic plans for all work, and they have placed door hangers in advance of all work. Bloomington High School North has also been notified.
Thank you. Questions from the board on this item?
Yesterday in the work session, we had asked if MCCSC had been notified, because it indicates Bloomington High School North, but there are probably some other impacts for the other schools. Were you able to confirm that, or is there someone on the line that can confirm that?
I don't believe that anybody's on the line. If further communication with the school corporation is required, I can get that from them. My standpoint was the main priority was just Bloomington North is right there. Most of this will be, all of this will be within Fritz Terrace. So only the local and the non-arterial roads in here. So I actually don't really see any other effects directly, affecting the schools aside from Bloomington North.
Yeah, there'll be bus traffic
Bus
for
in the
Arlington
neighborhood.
or the other schools. So it will be good just to make sure that MCCSC transportation knows in case they need to, adjust their timing or communicate that in some way.
That's something I can make that happen. And just to reassure you, this is one crew will be out here, and it will only be single lane closures, so very
Minimal.
handleable.
Yeah. We shouldn't see a traffic jam in Fritz Terrace, but if we do, at least MCCSC will know.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds good.
Could you also repeat what we talked about at the work session, which is the permit extension from 14 days to 8 months? Sounds like a long time.
So they had submitted their application and wanted to get started. So within my jurisdiction or within my abilities, I can approve for up to 14 days on this street. So I went ahead and did that, expecting that it would be passed.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Public comment on this item?
None on Zoom.
All right, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the right-of-way closure request from Heidecker Wheat Lake Company for Fritz Terrace gas line modernization.
Second.
I will call the roll. Cox Deckard?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Carone? Aye. Motion passes. Next is the right-of-way closure request for Duke Energy.
Zach Bell again. Duke Energy is requesting 3 weeks of lane and sidewalk closures on South Sarah Road. This request is to accommodate boring of underground utilities. Traffic control would be in place for 3 weeks with the dates dependent upon approval. Duke has supplied maintenance of traffic plans for all work. They have also notified MCCSC and will modify their work schedule accordingly.
Questions from the board?
I think one thing we discussed yesterday was just the very nearby impacts of the school there with Jackson Creek, and the fact that the crew was planning on adjusting their work times based on the traffic flow for the school
Yes.
start and end times.
They've been directed to start, I think it was 8:30, and then wrap up for pickup at 2:45, I believe. So they have to be out of the road at that time. I think pickup is 3:15 there, or somewhere around there. But then they may come back, but they have to be out of the road during those timeframes for pickup and drop off.
Great.
And the sidewalk will reopen each evening, and those will also reopen when they're outside of the modified work schedule.
Any other questions from the board? All right, public comment on this item.
None on Zoom.
All right, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the right-of-way closure request for Duke Energy.
Second.
I will call the roll. Cox Deckard?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Carone? Aye. Motion passes. Next, we move on to staff reports.
Kyle's going to start with one on this right-of-way request for Meyer Najum, and then I'll follow up.
Yeah, Kyle Ball from engineering again. So yesterday afternoon, we had a request from Meyer Najum, who is responsible for the Arlington multifamily project right there on Arlington, just adjacent to the roundabout there, 17th and Arlington. So they were doing some field work and realized that they did not have the adequate spacing from the infrastructure, the traffic circle infrastructure to facilitate a lane closure in this area. So their proposal was to have a closure during the spring break period. So starting March 14th this weekend, and then concluding by March 22nd. So in talks with Mr. Wason, the Director of Engineering, and our traffic engineer, we felt like this was a decent plan and would help minimize impacts. If they push this down the road, no pun intended, they would impact a larger volume of traffic as they push these dates out. I have been working with them as well as Bloomington Transit. Bloomington Transit's concern was access to Telluride to the apartment complex back there. We haven't had any indication that that was going to be limited in any capacity. Local access will be maintained for those few private businesses on the west side of the street, as well as the homes that are a little just north of the project there.
Can you just clarify? I just want to make sure I'm understanding this correct. So we're talking about like distance northbound on Arlington and not enough distance to scoot cars over? Is that what we're talking about?
So there's a tapered minimum distance that has to be
Yeah.
required according to the Indiana MUTCD. That distance is 60 feet. There's roughly 30 feet from the location of the manhole that they're going to be accessing. So they're going to be digging a trench there, trench boxes, that whole deal. And it's too close of a proximity to, basically in that traffic circle, there's those pedestrian islands with the triangles. So that would be, the limiting factor to create that distance that they would need for that.
So you're telling me that scoot over is not a technical term?
I use that term a lot, James, but scoot over is a term that everyone understands but does not show up in the MUTCD. The big issue here is they do need to,
Trench box.
the trench boxes and shoring is the real big issue here that's changed. The elevations of the sewer lateral have caused some of this, and so while we were always hopeful that we wouldn't need a full closure of Arlington for this, when we reviewed all the factors this morning, there was just no option to try to fit all of this in, and so really trying to push them next week. We may do, did they respond about night work at all?
Not yet.
We did ask them if it was possible for them to continue later into the evening and such, and so we may do an administrative level noise permit depending on if they're able to do a couple extra nights of night work to try to really limit it to that spring break period.
But we're talking about a full closure, not just a northbound lane closure.
Right, it's a full closure. And had this, we would have normally wanted this to come through as a regular agenda item, given the timing and the knowing spring break is next week. We wanted to go to try to avoid any impacts of a full closure after spring break.
Have the residences and businesses that are directly impacted been specifically notified?
I'll be sure that they are.
That's what we're working on right now. They're
Okay.
getting signboards
Signboards
out.
should be out today.
Awesome.
Yeah, trying to get the signboards out and everything in advance.
Thank you.
Yeah, and just for framing here, I think the original request from this project was closure for the entire summer, last summer, that didn't end up happening for a number of factors. So we reduced that to the lane closure, and we were happy with that plan until we realized the lane closure didn't have quite enough room. So they've been great working with us on this, flagging it as soon as they realized it, and providing all the materials and doing the legwork that we would typically ask.
Perfect. Thank you, Kyle. We'll keep you up to speed if anything changes on that, just via email. I've got a couple items for the board just to go over. I do want to just offer some comment about when a sidewalk closure comes to the board, we have exhausted options for walkarounds and such. Mr. Alexander's passionate about keeping all the pedestrian right-of-ways open at all times. I understand that. The issue here, there are sidewalk detours. If we ever have a closure, we're going to have a detour in place for a sidewalk. So while it's not ideal, the idea that putting in full walkarounds or reducing traffic lanes in this area is going to create more of an issue than it is to try to detour those pedestrians for a short amount of time. We get that, he disagrees with us on that, but Kyle and the team in engineering are always trying to find the best solutions. I can tell you we were not thrilled about the 7-line issue and it being extended. We had lots of conversations. There are other requests from Wilhelm that are not coming to the board because we have told them, no, you have asked for too much at this point. There may be a request still come through for Sunday work. If that does come through to the board, it's not going to be supported by staff. So we are trying to keep their project within limited, within the scope of what we can control there. So just some points there on that one. I did want to let you know, the public and the board know of some additional work that's going to go on during spring break next week that's going to have a road closure undone. We got word from our contractor that is doing the bollard installation project in a few locations around Kirkwood that they were able to get the materials in for the Dunn Street installation. And we thought, let's go. And so they're committed to being there Monday. The closure may bleed into the following Monday after spring break, but much better than a couple, 3 weeks. So we're going to be working with Cassie and everybody to get word out about that closure for Dunn. Good thing is everything's open down there, so traffic will still be able to circulate east and west when they do get to Kirkwood and Dunn. These bollards are going in between basically Kilroy's on Kirkwood and Jimmy John's for points of reference there. Otherwise, it's weather season in Indiana, so possible severe weather this evening with thunderstorms, and then next Tuesday they're talking like we could get some snow again. So, we're dealing with all the weather in Indiana. So any questions from the board? Happy to answer those.
Thank you. Next, we go to approval of claims. Questions from the board on claims tonight? No. All right, public comment on claims?
None on Zoom.
All right, is there a motion?
I move that we approve the claims in the amount of $2,481,592.50.
Second?
I will call the roll. Cox Deckard?
Aye.
Roach?
Aye.
Carone, aye. Motion passes. And seeing that there is nothing else on the agenda, I will call for adjournment.